Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've had a wonderful 36-ish hours since I last spoke to you. In that time, we did hit 5,000 subscribers, so there would be no right way to start the video other than me expressing my gratitude for that. Thank you so much. It has been done in a very, very quick time. But more importantly than that, I think what I'm most proud of and by far the happiest with is not the number on the screen, which of course helps me out, but it's more so the comments and the support and the love. So for that, I am very grateful, and long may it continue. As you can see, I got a red arrow, but it's probably the happiest I've been on a red arrow this season, especially when I have 2/3 players tomorrow to play. With regards to the content schedule, I'm filming this at 11:22 p.m. I will edit, upload, publish this straight away, and then everything you need to know will be out around like 4 p.m.-ish UK time on the same day. As this one. So that's that. There's probably not much else that needs to be said. We'll touch on it when we go through the team review. So let's get into it. What this section will be titled, I do not know, but it won't be Sanchez supremacy this week because he didn't find himself in the starting 11. When I saw a tweet from a journalist 10 minutes before the lineouts were about to come out that Chelsea had been hit with their rotation storm, I kind of figured it would be involving Nicholas Sanchez, Nicholas Jackson, and Robert Sanchez, and it did indeed. That's okay, right? Yeah, sure, I could have spent 0.1 more on Cahill to Fabianski and then downgraded in my defense to Anderson, but I still think I would have been down on that, even if I would have got the 2 points from Fabianski this week. I could have gone for Bruggen and Cobble in defense and goalkeeper spot, and to be honest, that might have been more sensible. I don't know how no one alerted me to that combination. I only really figured it out after deadline got locked, but cool, no worries, so be it. But I'm really happy with him going forward. Maresca said he's going to start against Spurs. He'll probably have max one more rest, but apart from that, I think he's good to go. What I would say is, in terms of the rank, because we always discuss that in this section, and the game week in general, I'm really happy with it. Really is maybe a stretch, but I'm happy with it because even though I'm on a red arrow, I've still got Dunk and João Pedro to play. I could easily be reversed into a green as a result. And considering I was hit with no goalkeeper this week, my preferred striker, who had a brilliant fixture got benched, I had Watkins and Rodgers, who I thought there was a lot of upside attached to, and I'm delighted my analysis paid off there. But they were definitely expecting minutes worries there. Watkins only gets like 65-ish, Rodgers gets 86, and there were some concerns about whether he was even going to start. So I think I've done pretty well this week. If I can get a green arrow tomorrow, if one of those two can perform, especially Dunk, that would be absolutely magnificent. And going into next week, especially with the Villa double up, especially with Watkins, my team looks very strong, and we probably won't be captaining Salah again. So I'm very much looking forward to recording the everything you need to know captaincy section. But yeah, that's about it from this game week, and I hope it went really well from you. And if you thought that appeared to be a disaster, just look at that. Look at the defense of the goalkeeper, right? They basically make an L of zeros together. Lewis Hall will be coming on for a 1-pointer instead of Gabriel, and then I've got Dunk tomorrow. I've seen some defenses. I saw one particular defense, right, with Timber, Raya, and Mikalenko. 31 points, and I'm sitting there with one of those. So yeah, I mean, look, it happens. I've mainly bought Ait-Nouri for this fixture and Ipswich and Leicester, so we'll see how the other two play out. Concussion for Gabriel, right? I think when I was recording the transfer plans the last time around, I did a section on a slightly conspiracy theory line about how I didn't think it was muscular for Gabriel, and I think he was taken off a concussion. And Arteta essentially wanted to just see if he could play him the United game, because if he says concussion, he probably can't, right? I was like, nah, I shouldn't accuse someone of that, but I mean, it was right. Whether he plays against Fulham, I don't know. I don't trust Arteta one bit either, so I'll update you in the everything you need to know video, if not the team selection and solving your problems. I was looking forward to a Lewis Hall clean sheet up until Salah got the assist and a goal, which we'll come on to. But yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I wasn't really happy with my defense, and showing up for me in not much capacity here. Going forward, as you'll see in the transfer plans, yeah, maybe I make a move, but I think I'm just sticking with it. As long as Gabriel plays, having two of these guys, especially when one's like Ait-Nouri needs very template, isn't too bad, and then we can kind of just go from there. But there's not too many updates to be had, apart from the fact that Burgess has lost his place again. I was kind of hoping he retained it, even if Greaves was to come back into the side, but he hasn't. So even if he's not playing, it shouldn't be the end of the world, because he was never really part of the rotation. And yeah, not much else needs to be said there. There is some match analysis on Jarrod Bowen, but we'll start there. Delighted with the transfer, right? Outcomes are whatever they will be. But for me, and I've expressed this repeatedly, the most important thing is my decision-making process, that I made the right decision. And I'd rather make a good decision and get a bad outcome than the other way around. Of course, my preference is to make good decisions, great decisions, the best decisions, and get the best outcomes with a lot of luck sprinkled on top. But if it's not going to be that, at least the best decision. And I think I certainly did that with Bowen. He looked so threatening. He accumulated what, like 1.42 XGI, and you don't hear a lot of stats on this channel, so when they get brought out, you know it's quite serious. And yeah, on another day, there's a 0 after that too, and we're talking about how it was such a great transfer and he gets 20 points. I'm very bullish on him for the Wolves game, as you'll see in the next video, and we'll talk about him a bit more when we come on to the match analysis. Rogers, delighted with this section, delighted with the analysis on Villa Brentford. I spoke about how I expected Brentford to come here at Villa Park with a back four instead of a back five. They did that. I talked about the transitional threat of Rogers and Watkins, which was there throughout the game, especially in the first half. So very happy he got his goal. Robbed of an assist. Like, for me, that's a definite assist. They can't assume who the intended target was, and plus the direction of the ball didn't change that much from the flick on. Like, it wouldn't have gone to Cash otherwise exactly like that. But I just don't think you can take that assist away, especially when it was given in the first place. But it is what it is, and I'm sure somehow it will work out to our advantage. We'll touch on the big guy at the end. Saka, he didn't really have much today, to be honest. With United's back three, and we'll do some match analysis on them, because they're one of the 3 games that I actually watched this week, because they were all at the same time, so you couldn't catch up on all of them, because I'm filming straight after. But yeah, he didn't have too much, so I'm very delighted that I didn't put the armband on him, otherwise it would have stung with both Palmer and Salah returning. Palmer could have had, again, like a 20-pointer. We absolutely battered Southampton. That was probably to be expected when you looked at their lineup, and then especially when Jack Stevens, their captain, got sent off. You'll see what I mean when I talk about maybe potentially relinquishing one of the premium 3 mids in the transfer plans. But it's on my mind. He's not the favourite, I would say, but he's certainly in contention for that. But it would be a very risky move. And then Salah, I didn't watch any of the game, right? I've seen all the goals, but I didn't watch any of the game, so I can't comment too much. But he just keeps going and going and going. Some of the finishes are brilliant, just so sharp in his actions. And he's probably just the most informed player in the world right now. And he's probably just the best. No, he's definitely the best right winger this league has ever seen. So, if he's going to keep doing it, what can you do? Like I said, I haven't watched any of the game. I can't comment on the analysis or any of that as a result. But yeah, he's just so good. And I don't think any one of us can kick ourselves for captaining Palmer. Palmer easily could have outscored him, even with Salah scoring an 18-pointer. And we probably couldn't expect him to haul. Moving on to my favorite part of the game week, Ollie Watkins haul, 12-pointer. Could have had more. Flecker made a great save in the second half. He looked very threatening in the first half in general, but he also could have had less. I was watching the Arsenal United game, and then I go on the timeline and I see that Watkins has won a penalty. That's the tweet I saw. So I got my phone because I got Prime on there as well, and I was like, all right, let me fire the game up. I expected, because I think Morgan Rogers should be the penalty taker, right? And I don't think it's actually that close. But I see Watkins has the ball in his hand. He puts it down, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm nervous. Just like I was with the Saka penalty, I was nervous, and it was the exact same outcome. The keeper gets a hand to it and probably should save it, and he goes the right way as well, and he just manages to sneak in. So I know I got very fortunate there, and I was very, very lucky in that sense. But in terms of the analysis for the game, like I spoke about with the back four and the transitional elements of the game, the basketball-like nature of it, really, really happy with that. And now I have a free shot at Southampton at home with him in form, and he got hooked early, which I think is a good thing because it guarantees a start next game, especially given the fact that Villa have won and he's got some goals and an assist to go with. So yeah, delighted with that. Jackson, how many points could he have got today if he starts? But it wasn't meant to be, and the 850-ish thousand people who transferred him in didn't get to experience his returns for the first time. I'm sure they won't be too far away. João Pedro will come into the side as Lewis Hall will. And I'm interested to see what João Pedro will do tomorrow. I've got a good feeling. I just do. And yeah, there's not much else that needs to be said. We'll do a little bit of match analysis for the 3 games, talk about transfer plans, and it'll be a shorter one than usual. That's for sure. One of the main beneficiaries of the system that Ruben Amorim plays is that you shouldn't concede too many chances, too many clear-cut, really, really, really good chances from open play, given the system and structure you play, right? And they didn't. I thought they limited Arsenal somewhat. And as Berbatov described at halftime, it was a bit of a boring game, okay? But what it also means is that in build-up and with regards to your progression and your passing network, especially with the profiles they have, it can be difficult. What I repeatedly saw was a Man United side that had the ball with their back 3. Let's take Maguire having the ball. The wing-backs are really wide. And their only out is leveraging Maguire's impressive diagonals into the fullback, into the wing back, and then trying to create something from there. There was one time that Arsenal pressed them high that I saw early on in the first half, and United played out of it beautifully. And I think that's what they want. They want teams to come on to them. And especially when building with the 3 centre backs, you always should have a numerical advantage, even if they try to go man to man. Once you break that first or second wave of the press, you're in the money, because then you should have numerical superiority. Or if not, even if it's even, it's like your 3 attackers with a lot of space, your 4 attackers with a lot of space against like their 3 or 4 with 1 sitting and then 3 defenders, right? So you should be in a very good position there. But if you don't press them high, and this is my issue with the system, where do they go and what's their solution apart from hitting these diagonals? Because yeah, sure, the pivot can receive, but what Arsenal did so well is they go into a 4-4-2. They don't press the centre backs aggressively. They more so just block the passing lane into the pivot, and the 2 10s are so far away, and you can't get the ball into them, right? Because there's so many bodies in such tight spaces close to them. That's very hard for them to receive, especially when you have only 110 comfortable receiving back to goal in those small spaces and in the half spaces and in those central areas. It's just going to be very difficult for you to establish any real good patterns of play, and you'll always be numerically outnumbered, in my opinion. So I personally think they might have some struggles against these deeper blocks. I'm not exactly sure what the solution is. I think having Bruno in the pivot is actually a decent one, but you need more, and from pretty much all areas, not just the players, but also the system. And I think I would introduce a lot more fluidity in it, because if you can't go long to Højlund, how are you genuinely meant to get the ball in there? So that's what I just saw from that. Like I said, I thought it was a pretty boring game. We could discuss it at some length, but Arsenal kind of just got the job done. Their corners were their biggest threat. Saka probably a little bit wider than I expected. Thought he could have come inside a little bit more and caused Malacia a few more problems. But without Gabriel and without Calafiori, I'm not surprised they took a just slight more conservative approach. I would have also expected Zinchenko to be a bit more effective this game, but he wasn't. And yeah, I thought it was a professional performance from Arsenal. I just wanted to give some Man United analysis, because that's what I thought. I wasn't overly impressed and have not been so at any stage in the season so far. I didn't watch the game against Everton in its entirety, right? But my friend, and he said it was pretty poor, and the 4-0 was a little bit of a facade because of the mistakes that Everton made, and I can see that with what I saw. And I haven't watched the game against Glimt, but yeah, from what I've seen so far, it's not looking great for them, and I wouldn't be surprised if, actually we'll touch on Forest later, I wouldn't be surprised if Forest gave them a difficult game. Chelsea, again, Maresca demonstrates his tactical flexibility. Today we built the 2-2-5-1, which is not formation you would have heard so often. The 2 centre-backs stay. Gusto inverts into the pivot instead of the right 8. Enzo functions as the right 8, who's slightly more fluid. Same with João Felix on the left-hand side. Cucurella holds the width on the left side. Madueke on the right. Palm in the middle. I wouldn't say this wasn't really a diamond, so just at the top of that line or in the center of that line, and then Nkunku as the number 9. Good. Really good. I think with a structure like that, you're always going to be a bit more susceptible to transition. And yeah, sure, we scored a lot of goals in the first half 3, and we could have scored a lot more, but Southampton definitely did make their chances, and they looked a little bit dangerous in that sense. As a result of that, I don't think we do that again, especially not against Spurs. I think it's a super risky game model to employ. I think he'll go back to his standard 3-2. But yeah, it was good. And Palmer could honestly have had a 20-pointer. We made so many chances. We missed so many chances. The final pass here or there. I was mainly just including this to talk about the fact that Maresca's tactical flexibility means that in certain games where you would expect Chelsea not to have anywhere close to ideal conditions in which for their assets to thrive, he can definitely provide that for us, right? As opposed to other sides. So yeah, good. And then Leicester West Ham, there's not too much really to speak about here, especially considering the assets that you guys own. One thing I like from Lopetegui, and I thought I'd just include this because he's getting absolutely hammered, and somewhat rightfully so. Soler and Alvarez rotating, especially in build-up, and Soler dropping deeper, I thought was good because he can get on the ball and he's just a lot better there, especially compared to Alvarez. So I thought that was a good solution. I also like this structure. Just build in the way they built. It was very much like a 3-4. When Soler dropped in the wing, you had the 2 fullbacks. You almost acted like wing backs, and then you had Souček and Alvarez. I thought it was pretty good. In terms of Bowen, like I said, he got into so many good positions so often, really easily could have returned. There was the one where Antonio slapped it across and it smacked him in the face, and that could have found the bottom corner. There was one where he was in a similar space that Wan-Bissaka played him into, and he could have shot, but he pulls it back to Somerville, and Somerville could have scored, but got cleared off the line. There was a shot in the first half where Hermansen made the save. There was an even better save that Hermansen made. There was a cross for Danny Ings. There was just so much, right? He was always in and around them. One thing I liked is he wasn't too wide, and when he came in, into that like right hand side pocket, He always looked threatening. He was on the right side of that 4-4-2 that they played for in the middle of the game for a bit. So that was good in terms of positioning. And yeah, I don't really want to go into it too much. There was something I wanted to talk about with his mechanics of shooting, but I don't think it's overly relevant. I'll see how the Wolves game go, and then we can go from there. But yeah, just a bit of match analysis from what I saw. Not all super appropriate to FPL, hence why it's a slightly shorter section. Nonetheless, though, I thought it would be good to include for the guys who enjoyed it. It appears my strategy changes each and every week, and each and every week it just gets that little bit more aggressive. However, if I were to do this, it wouldn't be getting a little bit more aggressive. It would be getting very, very, very aggressive. Hence why I'm not as locked in to this strategy as I was with Watkins. And there has to be a greater appreciation for the risk, and there has to be more consideration on my part. And it is a fresh idea, hence it's not fully developed nor thought through. But I'm just thinking out loud here, and we can talk about it. Forest have definitely changed their approach. You look at the game at Anfield, neither Callum Hudson-Odoi nor Anthony Elanga starts. Here he starts both Jota Silva and Anthony Elanga. At Anfield, he had two centre midfield type of profiles, very robust physically, good dual capacity, etc., etc. Here he goes for the transitional threat early on. And he's done this in one other game. Which one? I can't remember exactly, but he did it in one other game. I was quite surprised to see the lineup. Yeah, I think he's gone to a little bit more of an attacking approach, right? So I think that against his sides, there's more of an opportunity to create chances and score. Okay, there's that. City and Newcastle are interesting for Ollie Watkins because City, the only way that you've ever really been able to get at them is transition. Now, there's, like, for example, Liverpool showed that with a really good high press, but Villa don't have that in the locker, with all due respect, or at the moment, or nor are they're going to do it, right? But in transition, Ollie Watkins can definitely hurt them. Similarly, he can hurt Newcastle in the same way. So even though those three fixtures may appear to be bad, I don't think they're awful, especially if he continues to form he's arguably just found. Okay, but I would still very much like Alexander Isak because it is Leicester and Ipswich, and if he's found some form, then he's a top asset. We've seen that, right? He's streaky, and when he gets going, he's hard to stop. But I also spoke about in the last video, or a few videos ago, there's no way I sell Nicholas Jackson. How can I? One, I've accumulated a lot of value in anyways. If I ever wanted him back, it's a bit of a headache. Two, it's a bit of a headache to get him back if I want him, regardless of the price. And the fixtures are just so good. He's just had his rest. Just let it run. This would be a case of over-managing, in my opinion, if I were to sell him. So the only way I can get Isak, therefore, and have Watkins at the same time, because that's what this section is about, is to sell João Pedro. I've gone down on João Pedro since I bought him. I think I overvalued him even before I got my first 12 pointer for him, right? You saw, I took a Rodgers who was an expected minutes risk and really backed my analysis on him. And part of that, the reason that allows me to start Rodgers over João Pedro is because I clearly wasn't super high on him, right? And with that in mind, and there's a few reasons, and we can talk about it later, is there potential for me to go João Pedro to Isak and then just have a seriously dangerous front three? Yes. How would I facilitate that? Because I'd need 2.8 million. I checked. I would have to sell one of the premium midfielders. Now, that seems on the surface potentially stupid because they're all firing and the fixtures are all there for all of them. It's probably unlikely to be Salah because he just looks like he's in the most ridiculous form. But it could be, and it could be Palmer, and it could be Saka. It's just something I want to open myself up to. I don't think it's the worst risk in the world because as there are so many midfielders, especially in short bursts of fixtures, I think there's upside to be had, and I can always reverse the move if need be. The one thing this does do is takes away my ability to improve my defense, so I would have to back it, like I mentioned earlier in this video, and it almost doesn't lock me out, but it makes the route to Haaland in 18 somewhat more difficult and would probably require a hit. So that's the counter to it. But the main counter to it is it just over managing and is it a bit stupid to remove one of these three? I've decided that I'm not going to get Matheus Cunha ahead of Alexander Isak. Well, whether I get him with Alexander Isak as part of a hit, very, very unlikely. But it's possible. The reason is if he's going to play in his back four, for the reasons I spoke about in the Everything You Need to Know video, the one that's just gone by, not the one I'm going to upload after this, it's just not worth it for me, right? Also, I think Ipswich and Leicester will smell blood, especially if Wolves lose away at West Ham. And I somewhat hesitantly say that I'm very confident that West Ham beat them. I think Lopetegui is going to get the sack. On the assumption Lopetegui gets the sack, I'm very confident they beat them. And yeah, like I mentioned earlier, the new strategy would mean no upgrades in defense. Haaland becomes less accessible, but it does open me up to a lot of upside in 16 and 17. So that is definitely something I will consider. That is my quote-unquote new transfer plans, as well as the old one. It still exists, but you know, That's what I'm thinking. I would love your comments because, for example, no one alerted me to Verbrugge and Colwell because I probably didn't ask regarding my wildcard. So if there's any combinations of moves you see that you like, etc., let me know in the comments. And that's about it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all she wrote for this one. If you did enjoy, please do like the video. Now that we've hit 5,000 subscribers, as I say, if you're not growing, you're dying. So we've got to keep going. Let's go for 6,000 subscribers now. And hopefully we can hit it by the end of the month. That would be absolutely magnificent, if not earlier. And who knows, maybe a little 10K push as well if it's go well. So there's now 40.3% of you who watch regularly who have not subscribed. So, you know, if you guys could just check and click the button, I would be very appreciative. Like I said, I would see you very, very soon. Goodbye and have a great day in the meantime.